All right, Shalom, Mike. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I'd like to say Shalom to the elect that's teaching His word in all truth, faith, and sincerity. And today, I just want to get into a lesson concerning the fate of Esau, which is World War III. And this is the intents and purposes of Yahweh Shema Shah, the powers of heavens and earth. This is the Lord's will. If you want to fast forward the movie, you want to get to the climax, that's going to be the climax. World War III. This is what's going to cap off this system. That's going to be the end point to this man, his reign of terror. So I got this article from the U.S. Sun, and it reads, a declaration of war. NATO can destroy Russian enclave faster than ever. U.S. general warns as Putin henchmen say attack will unleash World War III. So as you seeing these threats going back and forth, it's going to lead to missiles going back and being shot back and forth. And it's if you want to look at it, you look at it on a minute scale, between two niggas arguing on Facebook. Then it'll lead to some nigga, being a fucking starfish at a damn gas station. That's how I always, one guy caught lacking, and it's the same nigga pulled up to the gas station he was beefing with, and now he a starfish. So it's no different on a bigger scale with these world leaders, sending forth these threats, all these tensions, and ultimately that is going to be released. Those missiles are going to get shot off, because ultimately that's the intents and purposes of the Lord, man. It says, matter of fact, let's read into it. It says, a senior U.S. general has threatened to launch a faster than ever attack on a Russian World War III flashpoint. It says General Christopher Donahue, commander of the U.S. Army, Europe and Africa, said NATO could capture Kaliningrad, Moscow's strategic military in the heart of Europe. So as you can see, these threats, these are really fighting words, and going back, this is the intents and purposes of the Lord. It's Yahweh Shema Shah that's stirring up the kings of the earth. Let's start off with that, actually, in the book of Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21 and 1, it reads, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. See? So even back then with Pharaoh, the Lord said he hardened Pharaoh's heart. The Lord caused Pharaoh to bring forth more oppression. You had to make your own bricks now, and Pharaoh acknowledged the plagues, yet he was still hard-headed. But that was the Lord that did that. The Lord caused Nebuchadnezzar to build that image and bring forth a decree. Even to this day with Esau, even the so-called white man, the Lord set him up. And when that mark is implemented, that's Yahweh Shema Shai causing E to set up that. Because this really the mark of the beast. It comes from the Lord, man. Who controls the beast? Yahweh Shema Shai. So this the Lord intents and purpose. He's stirring up the kings of the earth. Matter of fact, it's another one, even I think it's Revelation, where it talks about how even the allies of America, see, it's not going to be sweet for Babylon the Great. At the end of the day, as I mentioned, going back to fast forward, and then the end of the movie, it proceeded that this devil would never go down. America will always be here. But when you fast forward the movie, the allies, everybody turned on the whore, and they're going to stone her. What's that? Revelation 17 and verse 16, it reads, matter of fact, I'll start at 15. Because this is how Yahweh Shema Shai is going to once again glorify his name by the total destruction of America. Just like how the Lord did Egypt. And this time the people kind of acknowledge what happened, but they don't acknowledge who did it. Well, before you even concerned and talk about the judgment of America, you're going to acknowledge Yahweh Shema Shai for anything, man. So this is Revelation 17 and 15. It said, he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are many peoples, multitudes, and nations and tongues. So they show you Babylon is on top of all the peoples, man. Because it said in 18, that great city is, that whore is that great city, man, which is America, Babylon the Great. One of the subtle signs is the people of America are known as U.S. citizens, you know? So continue on, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. See, the allies. As this nigga said, NATO, as well as EU. That you talking about they gonna give Russia hell. No, they gonna give you hell. It says, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. See, and what is that concerning? That's concerning World War III. The tool, the instrument that can make that happen and for it to make sense is the missiles, the destruction. You know? It says, for the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. See? So yeah, they on your team right now, but at the end it's gonna be a cross. You know, you'll watch wrestling. You remember the Four Horsemen when they kicked Sting out. Hulk Hogan, you know, he turned on Randy Savage. Well, that's what's gonna happen with the U.S. allies. It's gonna seem like everything's sweet. Then it's gonna be a turn, man, and the turn is gonna be no missiles going towards you. You know why? Because that's the will of Yahweh by Shema Shai. That's his intents and purposes. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah. It's like Jeremiah chapter 30. Because World War III is biblical. You know, it's not like this is a shot from the hill. No, this is all part of the script. Jeremiah 30 verse 24. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. So the fierce anger of the Lord is going to be on display by the way of him, you know, pouring forth his wrath. And that's by the way of World War III. It's all going to lead to the destruction. And of course, we know we at the end because the mark of the MOT beast. The MOT beast. You know, it's soon about to be implemented. So that's how we know we are at the end of all these threats. And at the end of the day, you want to fast forward and move. This is the destruction. This is the intents and purposes of the Lord. The climax of the movie, so to speak. You know? Matter of fact, let's get that. I think it's St. Matthew 24. St. Matthew 24. And this is all concerning the end. So let's see, verse 29, it reads, St. Matthew 24 and 29, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. See? So this is chronological events that had to happen. We even talks about that in Thessalonians, how the falling away first, and the man of sin being revealed. We here now, and those are the things it talks about before that day comes that had to happen. So we in the restoration part, as well as calling out E, which is the son of perdition. He's being revealed. So these steps are steps to the end, and really the only thing that's left is that mark being implemented, then the destruction, because the missiles are here. You know, the Lord made these missiles Let's get that. Isaiah 54. Isaiah chapter 54 and 16, it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and bringeth forth an instrument for his work." Now, the modern blacksmith is the scientist, because if you want the end all be all, you got to go to an Oppenheimer or a fucking Abraham Esau. You can't go to a guy that's in a gun shop. He clean your gun. He can put a silencer on your shit. No, the end all be all for all these armies on the earth are these nuclear missiles. So that comes with it. You got to enrich uranium, and you got to deal with these certain elements, plutonium, and know how to. That's reserved for the scientists. So that's the modern day Smith in this time for the end all be all weapon on the planet Earth. You know, they call it a weapon of mass destruction. Well, that's the weapon of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. That's the arm of the Lord. It says, read again, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." See? So that's why you have missiles here in the end times for this great event, this climax of the movie, so to speak. You know, because after this, it's gonna, in a sense, it's gonna be downhill from there, man. You know, the kingdom of heaven will be established, eternal bliss. You know, but before all of that, it's gonna be a build up to this evils and, you know, distress and anguish, destruction. Then the kingdom of heaven will be established after World War III, man. And this would cut him off. Matter of fact, let's end off with that. See, World War III is going to be the event that's going to cut off Esau, the so-called white man. It's not going to be you voting, you know, you going to outbreed them. No. The destruction, World War III, is going to be the catalyst. That's what's going to cut them off. Let's get that. Let's end off on this in the book of Psalms 58, verse 7. It reads, "Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces." See? So I said, let them melt away when he bendeth his bow. What is that concerned? That's concerning the destruction, that heat. Because these people actually going to melt. You talk about the lake of fire. The lake of fire is America engulfed in flames. And said, and let them be as cut in pieces, because ultimately, this is what's going to be to cut them off. See, you ain't going to be able to, after this, you ain't going to need your last four social. You ain't going to need to give no. This nigga, you think he going to have the authority to ask for your ID after World War III? You think you going to have to pay some shit on the first? Hell, fucking Monday is not going to be a thing in the sense of, you know, Sunday, Monday, you know, all that shit going to be destroyed as well, man. You know? But this is the climax. This the end game. If you want to fast forward the movie, this is what's about to take place. If the people didn't know, now they do. World War III is coming. This is what's going to cut off this man. You know? So yeah, I just hope it will edify. I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai Ba'asham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of great millstone. Shalom to the elect. The teaching word in our true faith and sincerity. Shalom.